Chapter 6. Javea took the drive over the mountain to Denia, which was where the men involved in the accident had been taken. La Padera Hospital was larger and better equipped for an incident such as this than the smaller medical facilities in Javea. Javea loved the drive over the top and back down the other side. He has run up it, cycled up it during competitions and charity events, and he enjoyed doing these activities. But driving was preferable. It used up far fewer calories and allowed him the time to relax and enjoy the views. Even at that time of night, there was a shadow of the mountain and the lights of Denia on the way down the opposite side of the mountain. Javea knew which cars coming towards him were locals and which were driven by tourists. The locals knew the bends like the back of their hands, swerving in and out as they wound their way from bottom to top and then back down to the bottom again on the other side. Tourists were far more circumspect, taking their time, slowing almost to a halt when a vehicle passed the other way. He saw more locals and fewer tourists on his journey over the top, but the time of night meant that he didn't encounter many cars at all. He counted 10 on the way up, stopped counting at 5 on the way back down as his mind went from enjoying the drive to getting back into work mode. He had questions to ask, people to speak to, and a death to investigate. It might not turn out to be murder, but his job was to gather evidence and make that decision. As he arrived at the car park, Javea checked out the parking restrictions. It was one of the rare places in Spain where people paid attention to the instructions for parking a car. Vehicles were clamped, fines were steep, and he wasn't willing to pay a fine. The car parked safely, Javea entered the hospital and approached the receptionist. Asking for the men who had been brought in from the accident at the Moors and Christians Festival in Javea, he was told to wait, and a doctor would be out to speak to him in a few moments. Those few moments turned into 5 minutes, but Javea didn't mind. He was catching up on the football scores on his phone and knew that the doctor was there to serve patients before people like him. Wrexham, the biggest football team near to his father's hometown, had won and were closing in on promotion to the Football League. They were a team that nobody outside of the UK had heard of until they were bought by the Hollywood royalty duo of Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. That thrust them into international recognition. All Javea wanted was a good team doing well. "Detective?" the voice asked, taking his attention away from the cold and wet North Wales football scene and back to the Spanish warmth and his investigations. "Sí? ¿Cómo puedo ayudar?" Javea listened to the man's voice. It wasn't local. In fact, it wasn't Spanish at all. Looking at his name badge and seeing the name James Smith confirmed Javea's assumption. "I'm looking for the guys who came in from the accident." The relief was obvious on the face of the doctor. He struggled with his Castilian, as the Spanish language was known. It was good enough to do his job, more than good enough, but he could never get past the speaking part. He heard a question in Castilian, translated it into English, decided on his answer in English, then translated that into Castilian, and then spoke. It made conversation slow and punctuated with his thoughts. Over time he had got quicker at doing this, but he still wasn't what he could call native. "One of them was pronounced dead at the scene. We checked him out when he got here and confirmed that. There's nothing that could have been done for him. A massive blow to the chest stopped his heart in an instant." "Do you have details?" "Not at this moment. He arrived in full Moors costume, authentic too. That meant no wallet, no ID, no phone. We're waiting for the organisers to get in touch and for a next of kin to identify the body. Until then, he's on ice." "And the other guy?" "Been and gone." "That was quick. Was he okay?" "Well, that's the thing. There wasn't a mark on him. He was confused, looked like he wasn't quite with it, but nothing medical. I tried to check him over and he left." "Was there anything else that I might need to know about him?" Javea asked. It sounded like he needed to know some more, but he had no idea of what more might be. The doctor sighed and rolled his eyes. Javea initially saw this as a sign that he was wasting the doctor's time. But after a few seconds, it was clear that that wasn't the case. He was searching back through his memories. He spoke with his eyes still closed and his head back. We were told that he needed some attention. He wandered in on his own. When I went to check with the paramedics that had brought him here, the ambulance was leaving and there was only one paramedic in the ambulance. They always work in pairs. Always. Not this time.